Greetings. You have landed at Words Move Poetry. I am Ruby Body, leading in again with you on this beautiful Sunday before the holiday week next week. We are talking poetry again, leaning in on poetry, and it is a pleasure to have you, to have your company. Thank you so much for your support. Remember, if you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Let me get a little promo early on up. Next Tuesday, that is the 23rd of November, we'll be going live because I will be performing at an event sponsored by the Marian Cultural Alliance, myself and two other poets and a musician from Trinidad. The musician is Sean Thomas. The other poets are Amira Sims and Tyler. I can't recall Tyler's last name, but we'll be doing our thing on the stage next Tuesday, and we'll try to bring some of it live for you. So with that aside, let us look at what a woman's worth is. You'll recall that having looked at the video last Sunday with Andrew Sorkin and Melody Hobson and Meghan Markle, we thought that we should have a part 2 of our conversation started last Sunday, and we'll be looking at the question of a woman's worth. Now, that conversation with Mr. Sorkin was so current, was so on time, it was so timely because just this past week, the news out of Washington is that the Build Back Better bill was passed in the Congress, and that bill has a lot of action to be taken on the question of making the field level between men and women in the workforce, so that women can take home the comparable pay that men have. This has been a problem for some time, and Ms. Hobson identified the problem when she spoke with Mr. Sorkin. She talked about the wage differential between men and women, with women getting something like 82 cents on the dollar that a man makes, and if you are a minority woman, your position is even worse, with something like 63 cents on the dollar on each dollar that a man makes. And of course, that differential is completely unjustified and ought not to be allowed to continue to stand. So let us hope that with the legislative action that we're getting, that we will make some strides towards closing that gap. And that is the reason why I so enjoyed, or I should say part of the reason why I so enjoyed the conversation that Mr. Sorkin had with those two women, because the name of it was Minding the Gap. And of course that was a takeoff on the recorded caution that people would hear, travelers on the London Underground, the trains, they would hear when they are either getting on or off the train. You would hear this recording, Mind the Gap, as a caution that one needed to be careful in stepping on and off because of that gap that exists between the platform and the train. And it is the same kind of effect that we have in the workforce, in the labor force, where because of that differential, that wage differential, that gap, there is a danger in not allowing women to reach their highest potential. We have become used to the term, glass ceiling. You see, it gets me so worked up that I can't even bring out the word glass ceiling, that glass ceiling. So we were so happy to see two women who actually broke that glass ceiling, Miss Hobson and Meghan Markle, speaking on behalf of women who still have to endure that huge wage gap that poses a peril to the realization of their economic goals, their financial goals. So let us keep a close eye on what is happening in terms of closing that gap. We all know the history, some of it know the history better than others, but of course, women's work went unpaid for centuries. And it's as recent as what, in the 1940s, the World War, the period of the World War, where men were drafted into war, and they needed factories needed bodies to continue the work of manufacturing and so on, that women were welcomed into the workforce in larger numbers, and of course that set off a number of actions where women, through their own activism in the 1960s and 70s, were able to get into the workforce with some decent pay, though not comparable pay, but some decent pay. And it seems as if the question of women's worth is a continuing question. It seems as if we have become so inured of the secondary role, or what is regarded as the secondary role of women, that this lack of parity between the pay for women's work and men's work continues to persist. So we needed to address that. In the language of poetry, because we are talking poetry, Maya Angelou, the late Maya Angelou, poet, said, "I've got children to tend, the clothes to mend, the floor to mop, the food to shop, then the chicken to fry, the baby to dry. I got company to feed, the garden to weed." Should I go on? Oh yes, Maya did it well, because basically what she said was what we all know. Women work from sunup to sundown. And for centuries they did that work without pay. And even now we continue to have pennies on the dollar for the same work that we perform. So this is an unjust reality that needs to be corrected. There is no reason why it should persist. So that was Maya Angelou on women's work. In the context of today's discussion, that is the discussion in the general society about what is happening in the workforce, in the labor force after COVID, there is a term that is used quite often now. It's called the Great Resignation, and it recognizes that a lot of people are simply leaving the workforce, and a number of those people are women, because again, because of COVID, they had to stay out of the workforce to take care of the children at home, because they could not afford proper care for their children, to pay for that proper care. And they did so knowing that they got pennies on the dollar. So now that we are coming out of COVID, maybe what is happening in terms of the Great Resignation as it pertains to women is that women are thoughtfully considering whether or not they should go back into a system that has not been the best for them. Yes, let's think about that. So instead of the Great Resignation, as it is called, I like to look at it as the Great Reset, with women thoughtfully considering their options. So we'll keep an eye on that, and if we need to get back to that subject, the Great Reset, let us look at the trends, let us look at the figures, as Ms. Hobson quite rightly pointed out. She likes to look at the math, and that is instructive for us all. Let us look at the math, let us look at the numbers, and see where we are, and consider thoughtfully where we are going. I would like to share with you another poem on woman's worth, and this one is by Marie Ponceau, an American poet who was married to a French painter. She lived to be 98 years old, and she devoted most of her life to writing poetry books. She was awarded some of the highest prizes. The Ruth Lilly Prize for a lifetime achievement, a lifetime contribution to poetry is one of them. She wrote a poem, Among Women, and I particularly love this poem, and I would like to share it with you today. She said, "What women wonder? Not many. All? A few. Most would, now and then, and no wonder. Some, and I'm one, wonder sitting still. My small grandmother bought from every peddler less for the ribbons and lace than for the scent of sleep where you will, walk out when you want, choose your bread and your company. She warned me, have nothing to lose. She looked fragile, but had high blood. Runner's ankles could endure. She loved her rooted garden, her grandchildren, her once wild young man. Women wander as best they can. Let us make it possible for women to wander whenever they can, with nothing to lose. With nothing to lose. Let us allow women to reach their highest potential through just legislative action, through programs that provide for young children. We need to take care of the least protected in the society. So that's it for me today with the value of woman, woman's worth. And I would like to thank Andrew Sorkin again for that brilliant conversation that he had with Miss Hobson and Miss Markle. Again, if you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe. And I wish you a wonderful week ahead. Do enjoy your Thanksgiving vacation. Peace out.